Hello world. My bad. Never had this happen before, that was weird. Today I would like to talk about something that's been on my mind a lot recently because of recent events going on at the tech channel that involves people getting a little bit upset. And I'm sure there's lots of viewers out there who get pretty upset about my thoughts and opinions about certain companies. And while this video is very much about technology, I don't think it's the type of video I would want to put on the Talos of Tech channel. The more I come to think of it, I was realizing more and more as to why I don't want to just make tech videos and why I want to work on these other channels. One of the core conclusions that I ended up coming to was that technology really can't be too interesting. YouTubers, everything Apple Pro and MKBHD and Sam from iUpdateOS, and including myself, we really have to hype up tech year after year and get people excited for things and let you guys know what could be coming out, what potentially could be coming out. And especially in 2018, that's not an easy job when Apple has released an iPad and a red iPhone. It takes you about 4 seconds to be caught up on Apple hardware this year. But we can go on for hours and hours and hours during podcasts, during live streams about what could come out, what the possibilities have for the hardware that's yet to come out, and even when the brand new iPhone, the biggest product line Apple sells, even when that comes out later this year, it's basically just a bigger version of what we already have. How do you get people excited for that? It's tricky, but we basically have to be like a hype team. So the more I started thinking about how difficult it is to get people excited for something that's not really that exciting, made me realize how kind of silly a lot of the tech community is. This is not my retirement from Talos of Tech, by the way. I'm not trying to say that I'm giving up on tech videos. Tech videos are done. We need tech videos for the Talos of Network to survive. Also, there's definitely a side of genuine excitement every time a keynote happens, every time a leak happens, whether it's for Apple, Google, Samsung. I am genuinely interested, whether or not it was my job to be reporting on the subject or not. I am genuinely interested in what is going to come out. But if you think about the market as a whole right now, there is a lot of different smartphones ranging from 4 inches to 6 inches, OLED displays, LCDs, home buttons, no home buttons, bezels, no bezels. And yet when you really get down to it and you ask yourself what the purpose of a smartphone is, they all pretty much do the same things. Some of them are much better at doing certain things than others, but is there really a smartphone you can buy right now that will just ruin your life? Not really. I think it's really funny that the smartphone industry as a whole has now gone down the path of not what functional features can we add, but how can we make our smartphone look cooler than everyone else's, and then the coolest looking smartphone is the one that's going to be bought the most. So this bezel-less trend started, which involved Samsung distorting displays, Essential starting to adopt a notch, to the point now that there's so little bezels on phones, whenever there is a tiny bit of bezel like a chin, it now becomes a distraction, and now it becomes a downfall. The bottom of the phone has a little bit more bezel than the sides. This makes an ugly design phone. Does the phone still work? Does it take pictures? Does it take phone calls? Can you browse social media on it? Can you look up stuff online? Oh yeah, you can still do all those things, but it just doesn't look as good. So then we had Apple set the standard straight with the iPhone 10. Their approach was to adopt a notch, remove the chin, remove the home button, remove Touch ID. Why? So it could look cooler. And this is the most expensive iPhone we've ever seen in our lives because it involves a very complicated process of curving the OLED display at the bottom so that the ribbon that can attach to the circuitry inside the phone is on the back. This results in that same size bezel all the way around. Does this help the phone work better? Not really. The smartphone was heavily delayed because of the Face ID sensors that were kind of unique to smartphones before, with a dot projector of that caliber that creates a 3D map of your face to unlock. This delayed people from buying this extremely expensive phone. Is Face ID gonna help people unlock their phone any better than Touch ID? Certain people online argue that it's worse because it takes a little bit more time. We do all these things just for the sake of making our phones look cooler. We pay extra for our phones so that the display can go edge to edge. Is there really anything functional about that? I mean, I guess you can fit a larger display in a smaller form factor, but is that a big complaint? And then all the times we talk about smartphone cameras. $200, probably $150 smartphones can likely take a picture that is good enough for a camera that's in a phone, meaning you don't want to spend the money on an actual camera, meaning the camera's job is really to just take a picture of what's going on and let other people understand what it is. They can look at that picture and say, oh, that's a fountain, or oh, that's a tree, or oh, that's a picture of yourself. Pretty much any smartphone you can find these days can get that job done. But what separates those budget phones from the premium flagships is, oh, we can't stop there. We need to get the maximum amount of detail out of this shot. We need to make sure that we compare all 6 different premium smartphones and see which one gets color accuracy right, and then we're gonna spend an extra $200 on this camera because it got the color red a little bit more accurate than this one. Oh, and it doesn't stop there when we start going into the portrait mode. I think this is really, really funny because DSLRs can do this thing where they have a narrow depth of field where certain things will be in focus and other things won't, and we know that for being cinematic. So companies obviously wanted their own smartphones to start doing this as well, but their lenses can't do what a DSLR can, so their approach is use machine learning and AI, you know, put hundreds of man hours and hundreds of people working on how to blur certain parts of the picture intentionally. When you really think about portrait mode, it is kind of funny because it's like the raw image without the blurring effect actually is more crispy. You're getting more detail. You're able to make out what more there is in the image, and yet we compare our smartphones on how good they are with developing bokeh, which is literally just figuring out how much of the picture do we need to blur out and distort. Hundreds of people are working on computers whose job is to scramble and distort images in a way that humans find more eye-grabbing, more cinematic looking, and we pay extra for these things. We don't consider them downfalls. We don't consider distorting the image a bad thing because it makes the picture look cooler, so we pay extra for smartphones to do this. I can't tell you how many times when I talk about what I do with other people at like parties and stuff, they ask me what I do for a living, and I usually just say tech journalism, because when I say YouTuber, they pretty much instantly go the internet vlogger, oh, you have your own gaming channel, which all of those things are true, by the way. But usually if you tell someone a YouTuber, they don't think that you actually make money on it. They think that you live in the attic of your parents' house and that your parents really wish you would just go back to college at this point, which, again, was partially true, so those stereotypes, I don't try to deny them. But saying tech journalist at least sounds a bit more professional. It sounds like you have an actual job. But trying to explain to people what you talk about, I can usually sum it up in about 10 seconds. I just review smartwatches, smartphones, tablets, laptops, and desktops, and the software that comes out on them. That pretty much sums it up. And yet somehow on the tech channel, we're able to basically upload once every day and have enough topics for like a 6 to 15 minute tech video, and somehow have hour-long live streams twice a week where people ask questions and pay to get their questions answered, which you really take a step back and just look at this community as a whole. It's interesting that this genre of YouTube can actually sustain you at a full-time job. Explaining this to people who grew up in the 20th century primarily, their heads always turn and they question like, how do you get paid for this? How can people be interested enough in this topic for it to be something that people can keep coming back to and you can accumulate enough views? And on top of that is the interesting thing that I make enough to live off of it, and I am one of these smaller tech channels in the grand scheme of the tech genre, given how many tech channels there are that have millions of subscribers and are still able to upload content on a pretty consistent schedule and make close to millions of dollars a year. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to discredit the entire tech community because I am one of you. I do watch tech channels. I don't watch a ton of them. I don't watch a bunch of tech channels, but I am interested in the topic. I'm interested in the conceptual side of it. What you may notice on my tech channel is that I prefer to talk about stuff that's yet to come out, not so much about stuff that already has come out, because I like knowing what technology could be, about where it's going. But when you really step back and try to explain to someone who's not really interested in the tech field what you want the tech community to do, or what you want smartphone companies, tablet companies to do, so you want your iPad to have the same size bezel all the way around, and you're like, yeah, that would be so clean to have no home button and have gesture controls and Face ID, and they're like, so what's wrong with your iPad now? And you're like, well, not really anything. It would just be cooler if it was the same size bezel all the way around. Oh. Okay, does that help with anything? No, not really, no. Yet that's what we look forward to for months and months and months, and that's what so many tech YouTubers really do, is just hype up things that really aren't that exciting. We talk about them, we talk about how excited we are for them, we talk about how much they're gonna cost, we use Photoshop to conceptualize what these features are going to look like, and then we compare the competition, and we say Android doesn't have tablets, or Google has cheaper Chromebooks than Apple does MacBooks, and typically people will come up to me in the real world and be like, oh, you're a tech journalist, right? You know tech stuff. Should I get a 12-inch MacBook or a MacBook Pro? And you can pretty much sum up any conversation like that with, if you care about portability, get the 12-inch MacBook. If you care about processing power, get the MacBook Pro. And they go, okay, thanks. Conversation ended. I cannot express to you how bored I would be with my career if all I did was talk about technology and I didn't make vlogs, I didn't make Hello Worlds, I didn't make gaming vids or movie reviews or Saturday shorts or any of that other stuff, because tech can really only be so interesting. And I don't want the majority of my career to just be hyping up these products products that, in my opinion, as I'm looking onto the future, are going to be less and less upgraded, less and less noticeable of improvements year after year. I think our job as tech YouTubers is going to be harder to get people excited for tech that hasn't come out yet, because all the changes, really, all of the massive improvements they can make with the next iPhone are pretty minimal. Like, a giant design change that we could hype up for a long time is, oh, the iPhone 10 no longer has a notch. Even if that happened, it would be like, okay, great, thanks, guys, I'll keep using my phone now. Nothing's changed. I guess the little cutout at the display is less intrusive, but you don't use your phone any differently. Oh, now your camera can record 8K video at 60 FPS. Okay, great, can do that. Yep, it can. Been fun. I like recording this. Now you can wirelessly fast charge your phone and in 20 minutes go from 0 to 100% battery. Blink. All right. Great. Battery life's a lot better now. I think for the foreseeable future of smartphones and tablets and desktops and laptops in general, the changes are going to be fairly small. And trying to hype up those features on a tech channel that uploads daily and talk about the competition doing pretty much the same kind of stuff. Oh, the Pixel 3 will have a notch as well. Boy. We've never seen this before. Ooh, the new Samsung phone has 3 cameras. Okay. This allows for one extra feature that a couple people might use. Guys, there's really not a need for us to get very aggressive and get very hostile when we're talking about what type of computers or what type of phones we prefer, given most of them do pretty much the same thing. You can browse social media, you can take some okay pictures, you can take some okay videos, you can text people, you can call people, you can watch videos. Whether or not the sound is coming from both sides of the phone or one side of the phone doesn't really matter. It's why I don't really get very adamant about people online, like that you have to switch to an iPhone. You cannot buy an Android. My typical response to people who are asking me what they should get is just buy what suits your needs best and buy what makes you happy. Obviously, nothing's going to make you eternally happy, but I've had great experience with iPhones, so when you come to my channel, I'm gonna recommend that because that's what I know. I've tried Android phones in my time, and I've just not really enjoyed them. Same with PCs. I had Macs, I had PCs, I had bad experiences with PCs, so now I don't use them anymore. So that's my recommendation. If you can get them to work for you, okay, and there's something that Apple can't offer you that's important to you, then don't buy into Apple. It's as simple as that, and I think this tech community of people who just talk about what we like and talk about what we recommend to others really has no reason or no purpose in getting aggressive and getting angry. Because we can argue about quality control and about how certain companies don't treat their customers well or don't make as good as quality products. Well, let's be honest, no company really gets this perfect, and every company has quality control problems. Every company makes mistakes because every company is just made up of everyday people, and everyday people are not perfect. Certain Apple Watches have their displays pop off. Certain Galaxy S7s got bricked via software update, and they had to take it into a store. Certain Google Pixels actually did not ship with a version of Android on them. Yes, and you know what? Most companies do kind of suck when it comes to customer support. It is not uncommon for customer support to not understand the situation or not understand that it's not your fault. I see this problem occur with Apple, with Google, with Samsung. It happens to everyone. Computer companies all share a lot of the same kind of faults, and I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all. There's one answer for everyone when it comes to the tech community. For me, there's one answer because I have certain requirements and certain specifications I need my products to be able to do, and that fits my needs well, but I'm not expecting that to be the same for all of you. That's why what I want you guys to take away from this hello world is that so much of this stuff is irrelevant. So many of these phones, laptops do the same thing. All these companies have similar problems, design problems, software glitches, quality control issues. Let's just try to find the stuff we enjoy, and if we enjoy it, let's let other people know why we've enjoyed it, and hopefully we can spread our enjoyment to other people who have yet to enjoy that type of product. That's all I'm trying to do with my channel. That's why I don't think there's any need to get upset, to get angry, to get hostile towards other people just over the type of logo they want on their device, because so much of what these devices do, guys, are the same thing. So I hope that gives you some explanation as to why I don't want to just make tech videos. It's not interesting enough to just take over my career and have that be the only thing I focus on, and I hope you guys can learn not to get too angry or aggressive about the tech genre in general. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have an excellent day. Take care.